I'm Annoushka Dukas, and I've been designing jewellery for 30 years and collecting charms for as long as I can remember. In this podcast, I will be asking a series of extraordinary women to tell me their life story in charms. Welcome to My Life in Charms. Rachael Blackmore, welcome to My Life in Charms.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so lovely to be here.
Oh, it's so exciting. I've got so much. I literally have got so much I want to talk to you about. Because actually, I know a little bit about racing.
Yeah.
A little bit. My mother used to train, she had 40 pointers, so she trained.
No way, okay.
So I know a bit about it,
Yeah,
and my son did, he was a pointer. Anyway, so they're all, my husband and myself really annoyed that they're not here. I was like, just leave her alone. Anyway.
They've got to start making gorgeous jewellery to get me here.
Yeah, well, exactly. So the first charm, I love doing this actually, because you told me that your first pony is called Bubbles. So I was like, but the first thing that came to my mind was that we should do one of those kind of bubble blowers that we used to all have as kids. And this bit is the kind of bit that's inside the pot that holds the fairy liquid or whatever it is. So it's the wand. I think that's probably the best word for it. It's a wand. So I've made it in yellow gold, exactly as a wand would be, yellow gold with a diamond handle, and kind of on the bit where you actually blow the bubbles from, it's got texture on it, so that the washing, because it does always have that, the washing up liquid is, and then on the other side of the handle, I've just engraved bubbles because I think
that's so nice.
But look, so this is your first pony.
Yeah. I love this charm, by the way, because it's really, it doesn't say exactly what it is. You wouldn't look at that and think, oh, that represents her first pony. It's not a pony's head.
Yeah.
So
it's a kind of talking.
Yeah, I love how it's kind of unusual, and like, I still would, if I was going to my friend's house and they had a little kid, like, get the little bubbles in the shop. Like, bubbles are great. Like, everyone loves them. And yeah, Bubbles was my first pony. So my brother, I grew up on a farm in Tipperary, and my brother was 3 years older than me, and he would have had Bubbles before I did. So yeah, she was just such a fantastic pony, and she was probably one that I wasn't really able to hold. She would always be going too fast. I wasn't really able to hold her. But I think that actually gave me a bit of a feeling for what it was like to go fast, and I kind of liked it and enjoyed it. So she was fantastic. She was really good to jump. She was a really forward-going pony. So I actually think I learned an awful lot from riding her as a kid. Yeah. So yeah, I've got lots of fond memories of riding her.
So, because most parents don't want to give their pony that's just unstoppable. I mean, I didn't want to give my children unstoppable.
I know,
parents.
yeah.
So what were your parents doing?
Yeah, I know. I must ask them. Although I can't really give out to them now how my life turned out. But no, I think I think she was definitely unstoppable, but she was very intelligent, and she was extremely good to jump. So if she was going too fast, she was extremely good to jump whatever was in front of her, and she was a very honest pony, and so on. And maybe part of me wasn't trying overly hard to slow her down.
To stop her.
Yeah,
that was the need. So how old were you when you started?
I'd say I would have been
on Bubbles anyway.
Yeah, so like I would have been kind of 9 or 10 when I was kind of properly riding her on my own and stuff. I would have had 1 or 2 ponies before that, obviously.
Yeah. Well, you're Irish, so you presume everyone had.
Yeah, like oftentimes people ask me, when did I start riding? And I can't remember, it was like I was in such a privileged position that I never had to ask for a pony. I was so lucky that there was one there when I was growing up, and we grew up on a farm surrounded by animals, and I loved that. So I had a fantastic childhood.
Hang on, you got to tell me what colour was she?
She was bay with a little bit of a white star. She was a 12-2. She was amazing.
She was amazing. Anyway, so that was the beginning. That for you, that was the beginning.
I think it must have had an effect on my life, and on realizing that when I subsequently then, at the age of 10 or 11, was watching the Grand National for the first time, and you know, my first memories of racing was watching the Grand National, and
On TV.
On TV, yeah, at home. Like, I actually went over to a friend's house. We'd do a sweepstakes, and you know, just that excitement of watching the Grand National. Like, that's the first memory. I might have even been, I was probably a little bit younger, maybe I was 7 or 8, but that's my first memory of racing in my childhood. And then I would have gone out to ride my pony Bubbles after watching that. And you know, like, I remember the silage was cut. When the silage would get cut, and like, I'd be trying to get her to jump the
silage,
and stuff, and she might have done the first 1 or 2, and then she'd stop doing it, and then I realised I'd probably get in a lot of trouble if I kept just galloping over it all. So,
So did you do pony racing on her?
No, I didn't do pony racing on her. I rode in 2 or 3 pony races on a Pony Club Games pony I had when I was 14, or when I was a teenager. Yeah, a pony called Tommy, and who's actually in his 30s now, and he's actually, we have him at home.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's amazing. When we were finished with him, he went to lots of other fantastic families, and he's just come back to us now, and yeah, he's another brilliant pony. I have a lot to thank all these wonderful ponies in my life for.
Absolutely. Did your brother, because you're one of 3, aren't you?
Yeah, I have an older brother and a younger sister, and they both would have ridden through their childhoods and enjoyed it, but you know, they kind of stopped.
They stopped.
Yeah. They're living much different lives now. My brother lives in New York. My sister is here in London. So yeah, they're
okay. So
they pulled away from the horses.
But out of interest, were your parents, were they in the kind of horse world, or were they just?
Yeah, like I grew up in an equine family, but just not a racing family, you know.
Right.
But my granddad would have had thoroughbreds in the past, and you know, my dad would have bred the odd few as well, and you know, we would have always had you know, horses at home and stuff. Yeah.
It does. I'm right, isn't it? It's really part of the Irish culture.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I mean, so much. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that's, you know, there has to be something in the, you know, Irish people are so good at it, and you know, there's something in that in the past.
Well, anyway, but rolling forward quite a few years actually. So you described to me this car that you've also subsequently described as having a bit not quite as perfect as it was. So you said it was a green Golf, and so we're going to talk about why in a minute. But I just want to describe this green Golf because actually I really love charms that work and they move. So you got to imagine this as a kind of really miniature, it's probably about a centimetre big. And it's got green teal sapphires. So teal sapphires are just such a pretty colour, and they kind of will vary a little bit in colour, so in the light it will look different. It's got ruby backlights when you brake. Hopefully, maybe you didn't break, which is what happened. And it's got diamond headlights, clear quartz windows, 4 doors. The 2 front doors open because it's tricky to make them all open, but they do open properly. They actually open. And when you open it, you'll see the little steering wheel and the seat. And most importantly, the spinning wheels. And so you'll literally be able to run up and down.
That's very cool.
But now tell me why the car?
Yeah, so I suppose it represents for me my time in college. So I finished school, and you know, I always wanted to be a jockey, but being an amateur jockey was the road that it was going to be. You know, I never envisaged what actually happened.
So pointing.
Yeah, but I was pointing and so on. But you know, going to college was kind of always the plan as well. But I found that having a car allowed me to kind of juggle both. So I was able to go to college, but I was also able to go right out in the mornings on any mornings I could. So my car was just an essential. It was an essential tool, for me to have back then. So I was in college in Dublin for 2 years, and
hang on, and were you studying equine?
Yeah, I did science in UCD for the first 2 years.
UCD
is in Dublin. Sorry, So I was college in Dublin for the first 2 years, and I would have gone riding out for Arthur Moore during the weekdays then.
So you get up at the crack of it, because some people don't know. I mean, actually riding.
Yeah. I would have went out maybe once or twice a week. I didn't drink, so I was able to still actually go out and enjoy college life, but I wouldn't drink so that I'd still be able to get up the next morning and drive and ride out. But I ended up, I failed plenty of exams up there, mainly maths I couldn't pass. So then I had to reroute down to University of Limerick, where I studied equine science. So there was no maths in that course. So then I studied equine science down there, and I was riding out for the likes of Sam Curling, Pat Doyle when I was down there. And that's when I got linked up with Shark Hanlon, and that's when I rode my first winner. So Hold on. I'm rabbiting forward here.
No, because I want to know. I kind of want to. Well, I want to know lots of things actually.
Okay.
So kind of studying what's it called? What's it called?
Equine science.
Equine science. So, out of interest, do you think that changed or informed the way you ride?
I don't.
You don't. I'm just interested.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, nothing to do with it.
It was a safety net to have some kind of college under your belt.
Okay.
It wasn't, I wasn't good enough to just just give all my time to riding. And it wasn't. I was always going to try and do something in college,
Okay, so that's and presumably your parents quite wanted you to do that.
Yeah, they did. Like, my parents were very supportive, really, in anything I ever said. But my mum is a teacher, so I'm sure she was definitely. But I never didn't want to go to college, to be honest, because I can't ever remember thinking, like, oh no, I'm gonna be a jockey. Like, that was never even a thought. It's never on the cards. Yeah, so. Yeah.
So Rachel, let's just look, because you mentioned John Shark.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So I'm kind of interested. So it's so interesting that it wasn't on the cards, and yet here you are, the most well-known one.
I try and think of it somehow as my life has been a dream that I never even imagined in my dreams. Like, my subconscious mind could never even fathom what's after happening. Like, it was too outrageous as a dream. Like, I would have dreamt of riding in Cheltenham. Like, when I took out a jockey's license, I would have thought I'd love to ride in the Fox Hunter someday, the amateur race in Cheltenham. And every kid wants to ride in the Grand National. Like, I never would have dreamt I'd end up riding winners in Cheltenham or the winner of the Grand National. Like, it's just
pie in the sky.
It was so far removed from what I could even dream. So, like, when I was in college, I was riding as an amateur through all those times, trying to juggle both, but like, part of me always hoping that it just might click and the racing might improve and get better. But like, it took a very long time for that to happen. So I was riding away through my college years and, riding the odd winner here and there, but, it didn't really escalate till I finished.
Till you finish, I know. Well, hang on, there's lots to go between.
Sorry.
No, it's right. But there's so much to talk about between when you started and when you finished. So how did you end up riding for Shark in the first place?
So there was a ladies' race.
Why is he called Shark? That's just.
It's some. I think he got the nickname when he was
John Hanlon
when he was playing hurling as a kid or something.
But it wasn't it wasn't your name.
No, it's not, and it really is a name that stuck with him.
So how did you get on that?
So there was a ladies' race. So there was a ladies' amateur race. So it's a race confined just to lady riders.
Yeah.
So that would have been a race where I would have had a good opportunity of getting a chance to ride,
and was it his horses you were riding out in the mornings?
No, I hadn't ever met the man before this, so it was my first time riding for him in a race in Thurles. And the horse is called Stowaway Pearl, and he ended up winning, and that began the connection with Shark from then on. Okay. Around the same time, John Hanlon, Shark, came to me and said, if you turn your license from amateur to professional, I'll be able to give you a lot more opportunities. So, it's not like other sports where it's a real natural progression that, if you're an amateur, you'll go professional, you have to be good.
Yeah.
So many of the, Patrick Mullins, Jamie Codd, Derek O'Connor, none of them turned professional because of their weight, because of their size.
Yeah.
So that comes into it as well.
Yeah.
So my weight was very good. I was very light. So I was going to be able to avail of a lot more opportunities, and mainly also because I had the backing of a yard who was going to have runners and be able to give me opportunities.
Yeah.
So I had nothing to lose in doing that.
What's it take to go from amateur to professional? What do you have to pass what do you actually have to do?
For me it was because the governing body knew I was able to ride. I was riding as an amateur.
Yeah.
I don't think I didn't have to do another riding exam. I might have just had to do an interview or something.
Okay.
But it was just paperwork to change my license over, because I had plenty. They could see I had plenty of experience.
Okay. So that's what it is. It's not.
No.
So you turn professional, and then so Shark gave you a lot more rides as a result of that.
Yeah. So when I turned professional, he started giving me more rides. Now it still took me 6 months to ride a winner. So I'm sure a lot of people, when I did turn, a lot of people were probably saying like, "What's your one doing?" Like, that's a bit mad. But when I did turn, I got a lot more rides, which meant I got a lot more practice, which meant I got to improve. Like people were scratching their heads because I wasn't good enough. But when I started to get more practice, I did start to improve. And then other people and other trainers start to notice you and start to use you. And then the ball started kind of rolling, and then things just kind of rolled on from there.
Okay. And then you got linked up with Henry de Bromhead.
So that just massively changed the level I was at, I suppose.
You had have you had a lot of winners by the time?
Yeah, I had been champion conditional. So that's,
what's that mean in my language?
Yeah, I know. So so I was explaining earlier, you have the fully fledged professionals, like the Rubies and the Davies, who have no claim.
Yeah.
And then if you haven't ridden 60 winners, you're allowed ride with an allowance.
Oh wow.
So I was the winning most rider that year of everyone who begun with less than 60 winners. So it's kind of like the novice champion. But I happened to be like 27 or 6 or 7 when I won it. So I was actually very old. Usually it's won by someone who's 18 or 19 and who's, so I was kind of old. So I definitely will hold the record for being the oldest champion conditional now, I think, ever. But yeah, so like I had got lots of really good opportunities, ridden winners in, Punchestown Festival and so on. But just linking up with Henry then brought my career to a completely new level again.
So there you are.
Go on.
In this very male world.
Yeah.
Very male. I presume particularly in Ireland. I could be wrong.
It's the same. Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah.
So are you ever thinking, is that, were you kind of floored by that? Or did you not even think about, that you were a girl in a man's world?
Yeah, so not at all. So I think for me, a massive thing was having Nina Carberry and Katie Walsh. Right. So they were both amateurs, but they were both, they rode to an extremely high level. They rode Cheltenham winners, Irish national winners. They were like the amateurs I was speaking about earlier.
Yeah.
They didn't turn professional, but they were both 10 times good enough if they wanted to. So when I started riding, they were in the weigh room, so they had kind of any lingering stigma that was there. I think they had gotten rid of that, and they were extremely well respected. And I never found the weigh room to be a daunting place in that sense at all. Yeah.
Are there kind of female changing rooms, or have you just all got to get your kit off together?
No, thankfully there's female changing rooms. Yeah, they're often a lot smaller and a lot dingier than the male ones, but they are there.
And they've always been there.
They've always been there. Yeah, like back when I started point-to-pointing, you've been to point-to-point before, so you'll have seen your son go into the marquee to get changed, and oftentimes there'd be a horse box with ladies on the stuff on the front of it for us to get changed in. So there's different, but once you're changed, then you're good to go. So
what's it like when you've come out, you've got changed, and you're then all together? Presumably all the jockeys just waiting for the last race to finish or whatever's going on. So is there a lot of chit chat? Is there a quiet? What's
depends on the race.
It depends on the race. So let's just talk about an average race.
If it's like an average race, no, there's chit chat. someone slagging someone else because of what happened in the last race.
Right.
Someone else is talking about something they watched on Netflix.
Right.
Someone else is really getting in the zone and not really talking to anyone because they're feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
You know, everyone approaches a race in a different way. You know, some people are better staying quiet, in zoned in. Some people are better to be distracted and chatting about something else. You know,
What about
and then
you? What about, what's your...
I always liked to, so I would be obviously getting changed in my own room, but I'd always like then to go in and sit in the male changing area just a couple of minutes before we go out, because I never liked to be fully on my own. And I also found it helpful if you were there to be able to, you know, you hear different things, you hear people say comments about ground, or, you know, you just feel more included in everything. You know, you're, if I was to stay completely separate on my own, I think that would have been a hindrance to me nearly, you know. So, but like, you know, it's for instance, Cheltenham versus the start of the Aintree Grand National is very different. Before the Gold Cup, there's not much chat of, no one's chatting, no one's having the crack, you know. It's all very, this is so important. It's, you know,
This is
but
the
then
biggest race.
the Aintree Grand National, which is just as big a race, it's a completely different vibe because there's so many variables. Nobody feels much pressure, even if you're on the favourite.
What, for the national?
Yeah, it's a different type of thing altogether.
Okay, hang on, because I'm
okay.
amazed by that. I'm like, wow, because if you don't know anything about racing,
Yeah.
one would assume that the national, I guess probably because it's more worldwide, it's a more
Yeah.
famous race. isn't
Yeah.
it? So in my world, I'm assuming that the national is the one where there's no talking and everything.
Yeah. No, not
you
at
know
all.
that the whole world's watching.
Yeah. It's just a completely different kind of race. Like there's so many variables in the national. There's, you know, it's so much can happen that's out of your control. You need a lot of luck in the national.
Yeah.
And it's just a different atmosphere. I think a lot of people are kind of edgy, excited, you know what I mean? It's, you get a buzz out of getting around in the Grand National that you don't get in any other race. You know, if you complete a Gold Cup, yeah, it's great, you complete it, but you know, you know, whatever. But
not whatever.
no, but sorry, okay, not whatever,
Yeah.
but you know, you complete the Gold Cup, you're probably mad you didn't finish in the first four, or you know what I mean, or didn't win if you had a chance to win it. It's just, you don't get any major buzz off that, but if you complete the Grand National, you do get a kick off it. You know, it's an achievement, and it's a really fun race to ride in. So they're just so different, the two races.
So the year you won the national, I want you to really tell me about this. So you 2021.
Yeah.
So I guess very, very different world because there were no spectators.
Yeah.
That must have been quite annoying, actually, wasn't it? I mean, just as
but like it's so weird. I don't know any different when it comes. Like I didn't ride another one after it, so I don't know what it's like to ride it with a crowd.
Had you ridden?
I'd ridden in nationals. Yeah,
so
yeah.
you did
know.
The
I did
Grand
know.
National or other ones?
The Grand National. Yeah. I'd ridden. I'd had a couple of rides in the Grand National.
And finished, completed.
Yeah, I'd gotten to complete. I think I was 10th maybe the year before. But yeah, I'd experienced what it was like to get around anyway, which is great. But it was, the Grand National was so special in its own way because there was no spectators there. So you really, if somebody, you know, everyone who was there, even the people there who are working, you know, opening and closing gates, or you know, doing different jobs, they're all congratulating you and clapping you, and you feel so much like I was just on such a buzz. It didn't matter if there was no one there, you know what I mean? I was just so happy that I can't imagine it being any different.
So let's just go back before you won.
Okay.
So a little bit before you won. So your build up to the Grand National is you're a week away, whatever's going on. So just talk me through, if you can remember, but just talk me through whether that particular race, because as you said, that's the one that gives you the bars, is, you know, nervous, not nervous, just
I was really excited first. So I was just after going through Cheltenham, and I had a really good Cheltenham. So like I was still kind of half buzzing off that.
Yeah.
And just really looking forward to Aintree. Like I had plenty of good rides over there, and Manila Times in the National.
So Manila Times, Henry's horse.
Henry's horse in the National. For JP McManus, I was just really excited to ride him. He's a fantastic jumper. I knew he had a really, really good chance as well. So I think I was just really excited and looking forward to it.
But the night before, you were just really excited? Because I mean, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, it must be like it's kind of the equivalent to going to the Olympics, really.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah. Like I feel like Cheltenham has the Olympic feeling where if you're going to get those real nerves, it's Cheltenham.
That's the pinnacle of national.
Yeah, Cheltenham is the Olympics of the week, and Cheltenham is before Aintree, so you get Cheltenham out of the way, and you've kind of used up all your stressness for that week, and everyone's a bit more relaxed in Aintree. The trainers are a bit more relaxed. Everyone's just a bit more relaxed, because Cheltenham has just been done and it's out of the way, but. Yeah, I never struggled with sleeping the night before a race, thankfully. Right. Like regardless, I was always good to sleep the night before. The night after, if things went wrong, you might struggle to sleep, or you might sleep and wake up and not be able to get back to sleep. Yeah. And equally, if you had a really good day, you might be half buzzing and not be able to sleep. But thankfully, I was always able to sleep beforehand.
And also, I guess you're very lucky. You weren't having to be in the sauna.
So lucky.
Or not. Yeah. You've never had to do that.
Never had to do that. Yeah. I rode in the Irish Derby one year. I had to sweat a little bit for that, and I rode in a race in Saudi Arabia back in my amateur days. Had to sweat a little bit for that, but no, I'm so lucky. Like
that makes a big
jockeys
difference.
go through so much when they have to do all that.
I mean, do they not have to do that all the time?
Some of them, it depends. Yeah, some of them do. Like some of them wake up every day, they have like weight to lose, and it's a tough station, you know. Like I was so lucky. I could have my breakfast, I could fuel up for the day, I could stay hydrated. You know, and there's people you're riding against who don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
But like from what they've told me anyway, it's amazing what adrenaline can kick in. And you know their bodies have become used to this now, and it is hard.
So Rich, I really want to know: are you kind of fearless? I'm like, you've got to be pretty fearless, but would you say you're fearless?
Yeah, when it comes to riding a horse in a race, yeah, I think so. But I think if a jockey has any bit of fear when it comes to riding, it's just the wrong thing for them. Right. That's when it becomes dangerous for me. You know, it'd be like, sometimes I'd explain it as overtaking a car on the road. Yeah. So if you go to overtake and then you kind of start half hesitating and you see something coming, and like that's when it gets messy. So like it's like when you're riding, if you're not 100% going down to a jump, like a horse will sense that, will feel it. Yeah. It's never going to be full commitment. So yeah, I'm not fearless in all areas of life, but I think when it comes to riding horses, yeah, you have to be as jockey.
Yeah.
So that's how jockeys are, because it's so competitive being a jockey. So you need, you know, if you're gone away for too long, somebody else will
take your ride.
It's the same as any sport. Yeah. You know, if you're kicking on the rugby team and you're injured, someone else is there shining, and you know it's the same.
Yeah, no, I get that. And is there a mental switch for you, Rachael the person, and Rachael as you get your leg up to get on the horse? Is there a kind of switch?
I don't think so. Yeah.
No, just I don't know.
I like, you know, we ride and we race
but
so
you're
much.
so relaxed. I mean, like, you know, and you've always appeared, you know, I don't know what happens in the changing room once you get to the paddock, and, you know, but I'm like, oh my God, I used to be watching my son. Yeah. This is a nightmare.
Well, I think that's different. My mum would have been the same watching me, but
your poor mum.
Yeah, I think you have to, like, if you're too edgy, a horse will pick up on that as well. Yeah. So if I was plenty nervous getting the leg up in Cheltenham, but the minute you get legged up, it seems to disappear, and you're just there now, you're doing your job, you're in focus. Yeah. you kind of forget to be nervous because you have to ride this animal in a race, and that's all taking up your mind, you know. So if you're still really nervous, it's not gonna end well, I don't think.
So presumably, I was going to ask you what makes a good jockey, but I think that's total focus, is it?
Yeah, like you have to be focused, you have to be willing, you have to be able to adapt to different situations. You know, there's a lot more to being a jockey than riding, we'll say. You know, you have to be very good at that, but you know, there's a lot of other elements. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it as well.
Yeah, I imagine that. Because when you get boxed in on the rails, and you didn't expect to get boxed in on the rails, are you shouting at the person next door? Are you?
I probably wouldn't have shouted that much. I've definitely shouted the odd time when somebody has cut you up or done something, but they're like.
But do they all shout? Do other people do that?
Yeah, some people are really vocal. Some people aren't. Right. Some jockeys won't ever open their mouth. Some jockeys will. Some jockeys won't stop shouting and roaring. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, sure, everyone's a person. Everyone has a different way or personality. You know.
Because honestly, when I'm watching the National or Cheltenham or whatever, I'm like, oh my God, this is out. I don't even know the guys.
You know what? I think it would be harder. It's harder to watch sometimes. Like if I'm not riding in a race and I'm watching some of my friends riding, and I really want them to win, like it's hard to watch them, you know, because you're really willing them to win.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to ride in the race than it was for Henry to watch it.
Yeah.
You know, because like his work is done. Yeah. He's given me the reins on something that he's put so much work, and all his team have put so much work into producing, and it's up to me now, you know. But in that moment I don't have time to be nervous, you know.
You just gotta stay in the zone.
Yeah, but like it's weird, you don't have to force yourself to be in you're just naturally zoned in then, you know.
God. And if you're so just going back to the National, because I'm completely... Did you know you were going to win? At what point did you think, right, I've got this? Because you were on Manila Times.
Manila Times, yeah. So, as we were saying earlier, the COVID, there was no crowd. So we jumped the last, and as you know, you kind of elbow back up onto the proper racecourse. And I remember halfway between the elbow and the last, I was like, I'm going to win. And then another part of my brain was like, no, you're not. Like something's going to come and get you, you know. But I did feel like I was still going really well.
Were you miles ahead?
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't miles ahead, but I was just starting to creep there.
A bit of ground.
And then when I got back onto the main race course, I could hear the commentator say that I was a few lengths in front, and then I kind of knew, I just could feel there was no one coming, and Manila Times was still going forward, and I kind of thought this could happen. You know, is this going to happen? But you won't let yourself believe it, and literally until you cross the line, because like we've all seen those races where someone just comes out of nowhere. Yeah. So I didn't really believe it until that moment I crossed the line. And as I was saying earlier, the differences in Cheltenham, when you cross the line, you've got relief that hits you, you know, because you're under, you know, if you're winning on a favourite in a race in Cheltenham, you know, it's meant to win, and you're kind of relieved straight away. But in the National, you don't feel that pressure, so there's no relief. It's just sheer joy and elation straight away. So like I don't know, I don't have the words to tell you. Like I felt like I was going to burst. Like it was just...
I feel like I'm just listening to you. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I read National Velvet when I was whatever age. So for me, I'm like, you must have read it when you were tiny.
Yeah, like it's just, I don't know. And every time I see it back or even talk about it, like it's, and like I can, you know, you have the little memories in your head, but it's just like, God, like it actually happened. You know what I mean? It's just crazy.
So when you got over the line, you felt like, was your first thing, I've won the race? Was your first thing, I'm the first woman ever to win this race? Or what was it?
So I feel so, so my initial feeling was, I've just won this race. This is unbelievable. I've won it. The female thing didn't come into my head at all.
Right.
And I think that's because of all the incredible work that went in, all those years, you know, the women weren't allowed to ride in the national. You know, all the work that incredible women did before me put me in a position that when I won the race, I just thought, I am so happy I've won this as a jockey. You know what I mean?
I deserve it.
Yeah, and that's because of all their incredible work.
And then when you got home, well, because I guess the difference is you would have heard this massive roar if it hadn't been 2021. But there's so from that perspective, did that, as you said, you didn't know any different?
Yeah, like I just remember different people coming up and congratulating me. And
were your parents there?
No, my parents weren't there.
Okay.
Yeah. But you know,
boyfriend, was he there?
Yeah, he was there. He was riding in the race. So
oh my God, yeah, I want to ask you about that.
I remember looking up. So you know, you cross the line, and you know, not everyone finishes, we'll say. But I remember looking up to, you know, I hadn't seen him really throughout the race.
Your boyfriend's Brian Hayes.
Yeah. He's a jockey as well. Yeah. So, I remember I looked up to see where he was, or you're making sure that they got around or whatever. Yeah. And I remember I saw his colours. He had his saddle in his hand, and he was walking back in with his saddle, so he was fine or whatever. But I remember he just he gave a kind of a smile and a kind of a, like, I don't know if he threw his eyes to heaven, but he was just like, you know,
you could do no wrong.
Yeah, he was just like, after, you know, he often says that when he was crossing the line, he was a good bit further back, but he could hear the commentators say history in the national, and he was like, oh, she's not after winning this as well. You know what I mean? Like, I'd say he was like, oh God, she's going to be so painful now. But like, I was after having a brilliant Cheltenham. And
had you won the Gold Cup?
No, I was second in the Gold Cup.
That was the next year.
Yeah, but I had 6 winners in Cheltenham, so it was unbelievable. And then to get to go and do that in the Grand National, like, so it was, it just was, yeah, the ball bounced for me that year. Yeah.
Your next charm, I guess
charms. I forgot.
I guess we talked about it a little bit, but I mean, we had to do this. Your next charm is a racing helmet, and I've actually done this in blue and white sapphires. So I've used blue pave sapphires, and the white spots are mother of pearl, and the harness is yellow gold, and it's exactly as a miniature little racing helmet should be. I mean, I've done it in these colours, but you've ridden for so many people that actually I could have chosen a myriad of different colours. But this is very, very pleasing. But shall we talk a bit about, I think one of your favourite horses, our Plutarch.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Plutarch means see you later.
See you later. Yeah. So he was phenomenal. Like, he gave me my first winner in Cheltenham.
Right. Who did he belong to?
He was Cheveley Park.
Right.
Yeah. So the Thompson family. So it was fantastic to get to ride. I had great success in Cheltenham for them, and they're such famous colours to wear as well. So it was So he was my first winner. So that was a massive thing, you know, having your first winner at the Cheltenham Festival. And you know, Henry would have given me a lot of, that was in 2019, so I would have gone over with a lot of very good rides for Henry. So to be able to ride him that day and win was just,
Hang on, for those people that are not as familiar with racing, I think it's quite important to explain what Cheltenham is, because it's the kind of pinnacle of National Hunt, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So Cheltenham is like our Olympics. We just get it every year.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's racing all throughout the winter, but it's a lot of the chat is building up to Cheltenham.
Right.
You know, that's where the very best horses will be. That's where the highest competition is. You know, that's where it's at.
Right. I mean, whenever I've been to Cheltenham, it just seems to be Ireland versus England. It seems to be like that.
But it's just a fantastic week. It's, you know, it's the pinnacle week of our sport.
Yes.
And you know, everyone brings their best foot forward. And you know, by the sounds of my friends who have made the trip over, they all have a fantastic week socialising as well.
As well, they managed to do that. I'm always fascinated. Do they manage to?
Well, sorry, no,
go to
not my jockey friends. My,
Oh, right, okay, not your jockey friends.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
surely your jockey friends are having like early
my
night.
on way room colleagues. Yeah. The other friends, but they all have a brilliant week over there as well, and love it.
So was that your first major win?
It was.
You've had so many, so it's, when you're looking at the research, it's really hard to work out, well, where was the really that?
Yeah, I think it was definitely because it was a winner in Cheltenham, and it doesn't get much better than that.
Doesn't get better than that.
Yeah.
And you had a full crowd that day.
Yeah, it was. God, you're mad about the crowd.
Well, because I know as the crowd.
I know you're in the crowd.
I'm in the crowd, so I know.
And you know what? The crowd, like the crowd are what make it. As in, like I know I said earlier, I didn't have the crowd in 2021, but like I can't imagine it in any other way of experiencing a national with the crowd. So I don't feel sad for myself. I wouldn't change it, but the crowd in Cheltenham, like I have just like it is just such a feeling. Like when you get to circle around the top there after riding a winner and you're interviewed and people are saying well done, it's great, and then you get to walk all the way back down the chute and up under the walkway thing and back into the like amphitheater that is the winners enclosure. Like it doesn't get any better in anything in life.
And you've done that twice.
I've done that twice that year.
Twice that year.
Yeah,
I mean,
twice
exactly.
that year.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I've been very lucky in Cheltenham. I've gotten to ride winners every year there since 2019. So I've been very, very lucky.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just extraordinary. How many races are there? How many jumps are there? Is it vary per race?
So it depends on the distance of a race. Yeah. So depending on the distance will depend on how many jumps and how many circuits you go and that kind of thing. But yeah, that day on Appletare was just unbelievable. And then that was in 2019, and then in 2022 he ended up winning the Gold Cup, which is the pinnacle of jumps racing. So I finished second on the year before. So to get to then go and win it on the year after was just unreal.
And when you, in the lead up to that race, are you thinking, could I do it again? Could he do it again? Are you kind of thinking
I
that,
remember,
or are you trying not to?
Like the disappointment of the year before, and plenty of people were saying to me, "Oh, like you'll win it on him next year, and he'll do it next year." And I was kind of thinking, like, "Oh my God, like next year is so far away, and he has to get there, I have to get there, everything has to work out," and like it did work out. But yeah, like I knew going into it, I had a really, really good chance of doing it. But it's jumps racing, it's racing, it's sport. A lot of things have to
fall into place.
Yeah.
And do you kind of count down the jumps when you're in a race, or do you just know where the finish is? From
if you've never ridden a track before, you'll know from watching videos and that kind of thing. But yeah, you know where you are in Cheltenham.
You know where you are. Yeah. You're not thinking, right, that's the water jump done. I'll now.
Yeah, well, you know what, every different fences on different parts of the track. You might be riding them a bit differently. You might want to keep in here, keep out here, that kind of thing. So you know where you are.
Your next charm, this one made me smile actually. So this is a pizza.
Yeah, the pizza.
It's a slice of pizza. I've done it as a slice of pizza because I thought just a pizza charm might be like really. So I've done it as a slice of pizza, and I've done it in yellow gold, which will kind of represents the crust of the pizza, and then I've got diamonds, which are kind of yellow diamonds and yellow sapphires and diamonds actually. To represent the cheese.
Fab.
And then I've got rubies as the pepperoni on the pizza. I've no idea whether you like pepperoni.
Expensive slice pizza, I'd say.
Yeah, expensive.
I don't think I've eaten it.
Expensive pizza. But talk me through, what pizza represents.
Yeah, so it just it reminds me of the Tuesday of Cheltenham. Right. We usually rent a house, so we're in there, and just every night since 2019, we've ordered pizza to the house in Cheltenham, and I've been so lucky. I've had really good Tuesdays in Cheltenham, and I just feel like it's just such a nostalgic memory. It's usually a Domino's. Actually, that's what's close to our house in Cheltenham.
Probably a deal on a Tuesday.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And I'd be like getting the cookies and the whole lot, and like horrendous, really, like that as a diet to have. But it just seemed to work for us.
I thought it was reassuring that jockeys are eating pizza anyway. I
Like
mean, what about Brian? Does he struggle with his weight?
he might have had a slice.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he does. So he has to watch the weight.
Yeah, like, and Patrick Mullins would have been in the house as well, and he definitely might have had half a slice. Yeah. So, some years there'd be some other friends over as well, and I remember in the 2019 in particular, I remember there was a good crew of us, and it was just a good memory. Yeah.
Are you always, when you take the house, you're all jockeys?
No, not all jockeys. So the last kind of few years we've just taken the house through the three of us jockeys, but a few years previous there's been a few other people as well. Yeah. So it depends, but.
So, if you're sharing a house with two men, are you sharing the cooking? I'm fascinated by what goes on in a three jockey house.
Yeah. So Patrick Mullins has moved out in the last kind of 2 years, so we're finally kind of all growing up a bit. When we were all sharing, he definitely stayed well away from the kitchen. His cooking skills were not his strength. Not his strength. Yeah.
Washing up hopefully was more of a strength.
Yeah. No, he was good. He was good to do those things, but not the cooking. And Brian would have been able to do a spaghetti bolognese, and
Okay.
definitely. Okay.
So you're doing the you're doing the.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Mostly.
Whoa. Rachel, your next charm, I mean, is a honeysuckle. Can't imagine why that is, but it's actually really difficult to do a honeysuckle beautifully because they're quite kind of detailed honeysuckle flowers.
Okay, yeah.
So I mean, I've done it as the head of the actual flower, and I really like it when even on this little daisy, the little petals move.
Oh wow!
So
okay.
they just move a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'd really want this to kind of
have movement,
have a little bit of movement. Okay. So I mean, I've done it in. I love yellow gold, so I've done all of these charms in yellow gold. But actually, honeysuckles come in lots of different colours. So I kind of thought it'd be nice to do a bit of light pink sapphires on the petals. So each individually on the petals, slightly graded. And towards the middle, I put some yellow sapphires because actually, when you look at honeysuckle, it can be kind of yellow to pink.
Cool.
And then diamonds on the edges of each petal, and on the back it's very polished, beautiful. It'll look very
stunning,
like that.
Class.
Right, so honeysuckle, talk me through it, because obviously honeysuckle got a very special place in your heart. Okay.
Yeah, honeysuckle was an incredible mare. She was phenomenal. She won 2 champion hurdles. She 12 grade ones. Like, she was just, every jockey dreams of getting linked up with something like that in their careers, and she was that for me. She was just unbelievable, and she came to Henry's Yard soon enough after I was there, so our careers kind of grew together, and like I was always so grateful. Like that injury I mentioned earlier.
You fell off her?
No, I didn't fall off her, but I didn't miss riding her. So every injury I had, I was always back for her. I was never suspended when she ran. Like, I was able to ride her every time she ran. So yeah, we just had, she was just very, very special to me. And I think she's got a really cool name as well. Like, a lot of kids, if ever I get letters in the post, they'd always ask about Honeysuckle and ask how she was. And she was just that kind of special mare to me and to so many people.
Oh my goodness. Well, the kids, the fact that all these kids, I mean, you must be such a role model to so many people, not just kids, but you have just written this book when I say just written, you have just written this book, haven't you?
Yeah, well,
So
I've
it's
been
called
writing it, yeah.
Granny National.
Granny National, yeah. So it started, the process started after the Grand National in 2021, and it's actually only got finished at the start of the summer. So it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. But yeah, it's wonderful now to have it finished and to see it. It's really cool actually to see it in a bookshop.
Oh my God.
Actually, speaking of those letters kids write, you often get a bundle of them and you can tell it's like in the school curriculum. It's right to a sports person on the school curriculum, because you get a bundle together. But the other day I got one and it was from a girl, and she said we were asked to write to our favourite author. I was like, oh my God, like I'm someone's favourite author. Like, that's very cool. Like, little did I think when I was failing exams in college, I'd ever,
someone's favourite author.
Yeah, I know, it's mad. But
so what kind of age were you when you?
So it's kind of 8 to 10, 8 to 12 even, yeah.
So do you think you are, if you look back at it now, you're looking back and thinking, I'm kind of talking to me when I was 8 to 10?
I think so, yeah. Like, it's an adventure. So I was never a massive reader when I was younger.
Yeah.
My sister was a bookworm galore. So I loved Harry Potter actually. But I used to listen to the audiobooks.
Right.
So Granny National is on audiobook as well for the kids that don't like actually having to read on their own. So
are you reading it?
No, I'm not reading it. No, it didn't go down that road. Yeah, so I was still racing when that all had to be done. So couldn't quite get the time to do that. But yeah, I kind of wanted to make a book that was just an adventure story. It's not just for pony kids. So it's a kind of an outdoor adventures book. And like I would love if people from all different parts of the world not the world, that's just a stretch, but town, people from the town or people from the city or people from the country, all those kids kind of enjoy it.
Oh, well, I haven't read it yet, but I'm gonna read it.
Or just audiobook it.
But it's a shame, because I always think it's really lovely when you read it yourself. Actually, when
yeah. No, it is. It is. Yeah, it is. But yeah, it was too much of a stretch to do that. But and actually, like, yeah, the professionals can put on cool accents and stuff for the different characters, so I think that's good.
So kind of finally, what made you call it quits? What was it that I'm calling it quits is actually such the wrong way.
No, but that's what I did. I called it quits.
No, you did. You just called time,
yeah,
and you're like, time. So at what point did you kind of plan that?
Yeah, there was kind of, so Cheltenham this year was the first year I kind of thought leaving Cheltenham. I was like, oh, will I be back here next year? And that had never entered my head before.
Right.
But I still wasn't 100% sure. And I said I'd think about it in the summer. And then I was just going racing one day to Cork, and I just thought, what, this could be the right time. So I kind of had said to myself, if this one wins in Cork, I think that'll be it then. But I still hadn't told anyone, like my parents, my family, my friends. Nobody knew. No trainers. No one knew, because I wanted to be sure myself. I didn't want anyone to think that was in my head at all. So I didn't want anyone to know. So I just knew then when I pulled up that. Yeah, I think that was it now. So yeah.
Oh my God, was that the weirdest feeling?
It was weird, yeah, because like it was just a norm, as you said earlier. It was a normal race, an average race in Cork, and yeah, I think Paul Townend was in the race, and he just said, as jockeys do when you pull up, he said, oh, well done, and I said thanks, and one or two lads said well done. We're all chatting back in, and I just remember thinking, I was like, that's the last time that anyone's ever going to say well done after a race. Like it was weird. Like
it honestly makes me feel like, oh, it must have been so weird.
Yeah, it was strange. It was strange, and yeah, I remember there was some friends there, and I was like, oh, let's get a picture, and I was like, because I wanted to get, I knew that I hadn't told them. I kind of didn't tell anyone until the following day.
Brian?
No, Brian didn't know. But I remember getting him out of the weigh room. His family was there. His sisters were there. And I remember saying to him, oh, will you come out for a picture just with your sisters? And he was like, I don't need to I got a picture with them earlier. Like, I don't, and in my head, I was like, just come out for a picture. And now, like, I love that picture because that was my last day. And, it's just lovely to have that memory. But
and when you told Henry, you told, you know, all the people that, you know, had been such an important part of your life, how was their reaction?
Henry definitely seemed like a bit shocked when I told him. I suppose it was a bit he wasn't expecting it. But yeah, everyone was so supportive and happy, and yeah.
And have you ever regretted it since? Have you ever thought? I mean, it hasn't been very long. Let's be clear.
Yeah, it's just been a couple of months.
How many?
Yeah, May. So I retired in May. So the real, you know, the real kind of winter jumps racing is kind of starting now. And yeah, like I'd be lying if I said I wasn't watching some of the races thinking, oh, I'd love to just be back on board there. Like I do miss riding. I miss racing. I miss that feeling. I miss winning. I miss the purpose of that as your job, and it was an incredible job to have. Like I was so lucky that I got to do something I loved every day.
But you just thought that's it. It wasn't about eight, because I mean you were at top of your game. Top of your game. I mean, I can say were only because I've been reading.
Yeah.
But you are absolutely top of your game.
I kind of always said to myself that if I got the chance, you know, jockeys don't always get to decide when they retire. You know, you're lucky if you get to do that. Injury, different things, retire jockeys. So I always said if I was able to decide myself, I wanted to do it when I was still going well, and when I still had horses to leave behind, and I was still, you know, not that I was where I was in 2021, but I was still relatively going okay, you know what I mean? So I wanted to finish when that was the case, and not when I was
coming off the top. Coming off the top. And now, what's the plan?
Trying to figure life out now. Yeah. But for example, I definitely have more time to do lovely trips like this and come and see you in London, and you know, I'm able to do things like that now, and which is great. And I'm really busy. Like you know, you'd be surprised how much you have to catch up on in life. And you know, I'm very lucky in the sponsors and so on I had when I was racing. Like they're all kind of still with me, and I'm doing more work for them, and surrounded by lots of really good people. And you know, like I've recently started working with the jockey club, and
bit of commentating, do you think?
Not quite commentating, no, but no, I recently started working with the jockey club as head of Ladies' Day for the Cheltenham Festival next March. So it's lovely to be back involved in racing, and you know, trying to encourage, you know, women of all ages to come and enjoy what is a fantastic day out at the races.
It is a fantastic day out. Rachel, been such a pleasure and honour to chat to you. I could literally, I love so many questions.
And for my beautiful charms, they're absolutely stunning.
So I'm going to make you one
wow.
to say thank you. So I'm really interested actually which one it's going to be.
I know. Well, what do you think it's going to be?
I'm not going to tell you. I don't know. I really don't know, but
Do you have one you would like to make more?
No, this is for you, and it's really important for you.
Like weirdly, so I'm torn between two. It's between Bubbles and the honeysuckle charm, but weirdly I just like the Bubbles charm. I just think it's so different.
That's what I thought. I'd like to make that, because I think charms are talking points. And exactly what you said at the beginning. It's like people will say, "What is that?
What are you wearing?"
Yeah.
I just think it's really unusual and really cool, and it's it's very cool.
I think it's very wearable. Really. So anyway, I will.
Thank you so much.
Get cracking on making that. Thank you for joining us on My Life in Charms. If today's conversation has inspired you to reflect on your own story, begin your Life in Charms journey at Annoushka.com or email bespoke@Annoushka.com. And don't forget to follow or subscribe to hear more extraordinary stories told in jewels.